The King with Donkey Ears. Once upon a time there was a king who loved hats very much. All throughout the year the king wore a big hat which covered his ears completely. You may wonder how the king had his hair cut, if he would never take his hat off. Well, he always asked the hairdresser to come to his castle and had him cut his hair there. Strangely enough, none of the hairdressers who visited the king's castle ever came back. One by one, the hairdressers in the town disappeared. In this country, only my uncle and I are left. Perhaps it is I who will be invited to the king's castle. I'm so scared and worried, said the young hairdresser, who always trembled at the thought. Finally, the young hairdresser was invited to the king's castle. The young hairdresser visited the castle, trembling in fear. The king was waiting for him, sitting in front of a big mirror. Swiftly, the young hairdresser took the king's hat off to cut his hair. There he saw big ears like a donkey. The young hairdresser nearly laughed at the king's funny ears, but he made his best effort to hold in his laughter, thinking, "I will be killed if I laugh at the king now." He managed to finish cutting the king's hair without laughing. The king then asked the young hairdresser, "Do you think my ears are too long?" Frightened, the young hairdresser answered, "No, they look just normal." "Fine. Never tell anyone that I have ears like a donkey. Breaking this promise spells death. Do you understand?" said the king. "I will never tell anybody," replied the young hairdresser. He received a lot of rewards and returned to town. People in the town curiously asked the young hairdresser, and when they asked why the king never took his hat off, the young hairdresser just responded by saying, "The king loves hats so much, that's all." However, the more the young hairdresser told lies, the bigger his belly became, and he gradually got sick. So he went to see a doctor. The doctor said to him,
"Oh, this is a type of sickness those who keep holding their tongue suffer from. Once one suffers from this sickness, his belly expands like yours. If you take no measures against it, you will die. Tell somebody what you are holding inside, or at least dig a hole and shout what it is into the hole."
As soon as the young hairdresser returned, the young hairdresser dug a big hole and shouted, "The king has ears shaped like a donkey." Once he shouted out the secret, he felt much better. The young hairdresser covered the hole with soil and returned to his home, feeling refreshed. Then the seed of a tree rolled into the hole. The tree grew taller with a lot of branches. One day, a shepherd who loved flutes very much passed by the tree. He broke off one of the branches and made a flute with it. Strangely enough, when he played the flute, it sounded like, "The king has ears shaped like a donkey." The shepherd found the flute very strange and interesting and played it in front of others. Then everybody found out the king's secret. The king heard the rumor and got very upset. He summoned the young hairdresser and the shepherd before him and said, "I told you, do you remember? Breaking the promise spells death." I never told your secret to anybody. It is really true. I just dug a hole and shouted into it," answered the young hairdresser. "I just made a flute with the branch of the tree growing there," said the shepherd. The king played the flute and found out that it actually sounded like, "The king has ears shaped like a donkey." The king sighed and said, "Everybody already knows my secret. I can no longer hide it. Well, that's okay. Now I feel much easier since there is no need to hide my ears. I should thank you then." The king gave a lot of rewards to the hairdresser and the shepherd. The end.